welcome back to our unique and informative knowledge-sharing platform, the Lighthouse-Talks with our India experts. Thank you for following us and encouraging us to remain innovative. Stay tuned, stay connected.
Hello and welcome back to Rödl and Partner presents the Lighthouse-Talks with our India experts. Today we are once again joined by Hemant Patel, who is an expert on transaction advisory, finance and valuation. In the part 1 of Lighthouse episode on valuation advisory, we discussed how the valuation advisory can be divided into two primary segments. One, valuations that are required for compliance with regulatory requirements. And second, the valuation advisory that pertains to M&A transactions. We discussed the various requirements of valuation for different compliances. We also discussed how the various regulations like Income Tax Act, FEMA, Companies Act and other statutes mandate valuation of financial instruments. How the prescribed valuation methodology under these statutes are different, and also the applicability of statutes on various transactions that the companies undertake in the normal course of business operations. Now it's time to channel our discussion with Hemant towards valuation advisory for M&A transactions. Dear viewers, today Hemant will throw some light on how the valuation approach is different in M&A transactions vis-a-vis the compliance valuations we discussed in part 1.
Certainly, Anushree. I'm glad you asked this question. So I would say that, the valuation advisory for an M&A transaction is completely different than anything that we have discussed so far. So firstly, there is no prescribed valuation approach that is required to be followed here. And second, also in most of the cases, our objective is to ascertain a range of fair value rather than a single individual value for the company as a whole.
Just a moment, Hemant. Why are you emphasizing on the range of value than the single value?
Well, that's a good catch, Anushree. So buyers and sellers are going to negotiate on the value. That's given, right? So each party places a value on the company from their own point of view. Now, at the risk of being obvious, I would say that, the buyer wants to purchase the company at the lowest value that would be acceptable to the seller. And seller wants to sell the company the highest value that buyer is willing to pay. So in this particular case, our objective is to arm our client. Let's say he's the buyer, to arm our client with all the relevant data fields that would have an effect on the value of the transaction. So this way, when we give him a comprehensive range of value, he would be able to continue with the negotiations that would involve informed judgment and secondly, right decision-making tools at his disposal.
Understood. So you say that the range of value is more useful in transaction analysis situations, right?
Certainly.
So to elaborate on how you would go about determining the valuation range.
Of course, Anushree. So to answer this question, I will briefly touch upon the valuation approach that is to be adopted in a transaction advisory, right? So commonly adopted valuation approach would be something like trading earnings multiple in combination with transactions earnings multiple. And then also we look at discounted cash flow approach to give a sanity check on the adopted multiples approach. Now, then this gives us, the valuation range is ascertained after considering all the applicable valuation approaches, valuation methodologies that we discuss. And then we also look at sensitivity of varying keys, assumptions and matrices to arrive at a fair valuation range that we consider as a fair value.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Hemant. I think that sounds like a very comprehensive approach towards transaction valuation. To sum it up for our viewers, we discussed about the common scenarios today that requires valuations, right, Hemant?
Yes, of course.
And the specific laws which mandates valuations and their methodologies. We also talked about the importance of valuation in M&A transactions.
Of course, yes.
This topic is very complicated and vast, and it cannot be concluded in such a short session.
I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Though our viewers must have got a fair idea on its basic principles, right?
Yes.
And as you explained it so well.
So, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, we've only scratched the surface of this topic. I mean, I would go on to say that we didn't even cover the complete tip of this iceberg. I mean, this big iceberg. So, and there is a lot more to the subject matter than what we just discussed. That is given, I guess.
Right, right. So let me tell our viewers, because this subject will be having a lot of queries and questions, you can always ask Hemant, our expert, as you just heard him. He's an expert in financial due diligence and valuation advisory. So please feel free to ask your queries and questions. Hemant's contact details are given in the bio of this video.
Yeah, I would be happy to answer any queries that come and the questions that follow. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hemant. And with this, we will wrap up our today's session.
Thank you, Anushree.
Thank you, Hemant. Thank you. And hope our viewers enjoyed this episode. We would be delighted to stay connected with you via Rödl and Partner presents The Lighthouse Talk with our India experts, with many more interesting episodes. Until then, please be safe, take care, and once again, thank you for watching.